Today I'm here with two people who are willing to speak out because they want to be sure that anyone who has evidence that may be relevant to the criminal investigation of R. Kelly takes the right steps to provide potential evidence to the authorities. Gary Dennis has been married to his wife Sally for 27 years. They have 2 adult daughters, and they care deeply about protecting children. Recently, they were horrified to discover that in a box of old VHS tapes, there was a VHS tape of what appeared to be R. Kelly sexually abusing children. Prior to learning that such a tape was in their possession, Sally had viewed the Lifetime documentary called Surviving R. Kelly. She was very emotionally disturbed by what the women in the documentary alleged had happened to them after they met R. Kelly. Sometime after that, Sally and her husband discovered to their surprise that they had a VHS tape that could be helpful in learning what had happened to these young girls who had come into contact with R. Kelly. Sally and Gary felt that they had a moral duty to provide the tape to law enforcement. They contacted me and I facilitated the transfer of this potential evidence to investigators. I believe that there are other tapes in circulation and that individuals who possess them may be reluctant to admit that they have possession of them. I would urge the public, however, to turn over these tapes, either by contacting me for a confidential conversation or by contacting law enforcement. However, such tapes may have come into your possession. We need you to turn over those tapes as soon as possible. Please do not destroy them or tamper with them, and please do not sell or circulate them. We urge you to do what Gary and Sally were wise enough to do. While I have not viewed the previous tape that has been widely reported in the media, I do not believe that the tape that was found by Gary and Sally, which is now in the possession of law enforcement, is the same tape. Today, we are not going to describe the specific abusive acts that appear on the tape, because we believe that the specific should only be discussed or described to law enforcement and in a court of law. It is fair to say, however, that no child should ever be subjected to the kind of abuse and degrading, sexually predatory misconduct depicted on the tape. I have no doubt that if your young daughter or sister appeared on such a tape, you would not want their victimization and abuse to be viewed by members of the public. This is not just child sexual abuse, which would be bad enough, but it is also child pornography. No child can legally consent to sexual abuse, and any adult who sexually abuses them and records the abuse is guilty of a number of crimes. In addition, it is a crime to knowingly possess child pornography, and that is yet another reason to remove from your possessions any similar tapes by turning them over to law enforcement either directly or through an attorney. Gary and Sally are role models for all of us. They knew that they had a moral duty to do the right thing. I am honored to represent them, and I urge others to follow their example. We need more people on this earth like Gary and Sally. And now I'm going to introduce Gary.
Good afternoon to you all. It's not easy going over this before I start. It was very hard for me to face the press. To even discuss this again from what I found. But I think that everybody should know. I think I did do the right thing. So I'm going to just read this statement for you, and I'm glad to be here today to do this for everyone that's suffering in the world. Recently, I came across a box of VHS tapes that I had in my home for many years. I love sports, and I was searching through the box to see which old tapes and I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to throw out. I noticed a sports tape, but it also had R. Kelly's name on it. I thought it was a recording of an R. Kelly concert. I watched the sports on the tape, then continued to watch what I thought would be an R. Kelly concert. To my shock and surprise, R. Kelly appeared to be on the tape, but not in concert. Instead, he was sexually abusing underage African American girls. He was telling them what to do and what to say, and it appeared that he was in control of the camera. In addition, he was engaging with these children in sexual abusive acts. He appeared to be in command of the girls, and they looked as though they were just saying, doing what he told them to do. I was disgusted, as I am today, and horrified when I saw that. I have a daughter, and nobody's daughter should ever be subjected to anything like that. At first, I was inclined to throw out the tape and put it in the garbage. But then I discussed it with my wife, and we decided that the right thing to do was to turn it over to law enforcement. Because I was aware that there was an ongoing criminal investigation of R. Kelly, therefore, I contacted Ms. Allred, and she agreed to represent us to facilitate the transfer of the tape as soon as possible to the criminal investigators. We are happy that we did provide it to the law enforcement because it was clear to us that this tape might help in their investigation of Mr. Kelly. We have heard that there may be many VHS tapes in circulation and depict Mr. Kelly sexually abusing underage girls. We hope that anyone who may have possession of such tapes will contact Ms. Allred and turn over the tapes immediately so that they can be taken out of circulation and evaluated to determine if they may be assistance to the prosecutor. I have met with law enforcement, and they were very appreciative that we provided the tape to them. I hope that others will do the same so that there can be justice in any case that is brought regarding this matter. As a parent, it is very disturbing to know that any adult, and I emphasize that again, any adult would engage in sexual acts with a child. There can be no justification for anyone to do what I saw on this tape. I can't get the memory out of my head. I just can't. It just stays with me constantly. Of what I saw on the tape, what the children were subjected to do on the tape is sickening and shameful, and most of all, harmful to those children. It breaks my heart to see a celebrity whose music I used to love take advantage of children and harm them in this way. I urge anyone who may have a similar VHS tape or DVD to contact Ms. Allred for a confidential conversation about those recordings. Unless we do the right thing, justice will not be done. And I emphasize that again for you guys to hear this again through the press. And I want everybody to know in the world what's going on here. Unless we do the right thing and come forward with any of the tapes out there that circulate, because there is some out there besides mine, turn them in immediately to law enforcement or Ms. Allred. And I know that that's the right thing to do, so we can put an end to this filth that's out there in the world. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis is not going to be answering any questions, nor is Sally. However, I'll take some questions. Yes.
How did they come in contact with the tape? How did it end up in his possession?
They don't know the answer to how it came into that box of many VHS tapes in the past. And over the years, there have been friends that gave him sports tapes because they know he likes sports. And he has no idea. He's tried to think about it and no idea. These are very old tapes.
Does he know how long it was in his possession for?
He has no idea. He's just cleaning out the VHS tape so that there wouldn't be so many, and then keep the ones that he wanted to keep, and then came across this. Yes.
What proof is there besides the name on the tape that is R. Kelly on the tape? And what proof besides the name on the tape that he said that the name was R. Kelly on the tape?
Yes.
Is there other proof on the video that is R. Kelly in the video?
A person who appears to look like R. Kelly is depicted on the video.
And are the identities of the girls in the video known at this time?
We do not know the identity of the children who appear on the tape. There is no reason to believe that any of them are the women who spoke out on the surviving R. Kelly documentary. But I do have a concern myself, and I should, because I do represent a number of underage victims. That is, they're adults now, but they were underage at the time that they were with Mr. Kelly. And so I have not revealed their identities, nor have I revealed the details of what they have shared. But, you know, there's a concern about who that may be. That will be for law enforcement to determine the identity of the children on the tape, if they are able to identify. Yes.
Is there any indication about when this tape was produced, if any?
Well, it was at the time that the VHS tapes were in circulation. We do believe that we know the year, but we just want to say the 1990s. Yes.
Ms. Allred, what law enforcement entity did you submit these tapes to? Was it local, was it an attorney, a state's attorney or attorney general, FBI? Who did those go to?
The United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York.
Do they live in the Eastern District? Do they live on Long Island?
They are residents of Pennsylvania.
And so why the Eastern District of New York?
I think that was appropriate, that's what.
You can't allow them to elaborate?
No, but it's my opinion that that was the appropriate jurisdictional law enforcement entity which should receive them. Yes.
Talk a little bit about the timeline, roughly when the tapes were discovered, until they contacted your office, until today, I guess when they were turned over to the authorities. And
Well, with all of that, I will say within recent weeks, all of this took place.
They were found in recent weeks.
Well, yeah, recently.
were they found before or after the documentary was released?
After.
Is there any way to tell how many girls are in, how many different girls or young women are in the video? And also, does Mr. Dennis have, was he a former employee? Has he ever met R. Kelly? Does he know people that knows him? I mean, how
So
does
that's
it
about
cost?
3 questions.
Okay,
So let's start with your first.
Okay,
Would you
great.
just break that down, please?
okay. How many, can you tell by the video how many women, young girls are in the
More than one.
10?
We're not gonna disclose the number, but more than one.
Does Mr. Dennis have any ties to Mr. Kelly? Did he have
Mr. Dennis has never met Mr. Kelly, has never had any communication with Mr. Kelly, and has never attended an R. Kelly concert.
but was friends in common?
I don't know whether anyone he knows knew Mr. Kelly. He doesn't know Mr. Kelly. Sally doesn't know Mr. Kelly. There's been no communication with Mr. Kelly by Mr. Dennis or by his wife Sally.
So a box of tapes, one saying R. Kelly ends up in his home, in his home?
That's correct.
And we don't know how that would happen.
We know what we shared, and that's what we know. That's all we know.
This was in the basement?
It was in his home and in a box. I can't say exactly where in his home it was located, but he has shared all that information with law enforcement. He's answered all of their questions. And Sally has also answered all of their questions and is happy to do so. Who's not yet had an opportunity to ask a question?
How
Yes,
do you know that the girls were underage, and was there any other man in R. Kelly or who suspected R. Kelly on tape?
they assume that the girls were underage because they were not fully developed.
And was he the only man on tape? Or who you suspected?
He was the only man on the, meaning R. Kelly,
Yes.
was the only man seen on the tape.
Question.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Question, like what point of view is it, like the camera set off to the side, and who's actually filming? If R. Kelly filming the season, like how is it?
Who was filming, is that your question?
Yeah. Or was it,
Well,
what's the like point of it?
Mr. Dennis said that it appeared to him that Mr. Kelly was controlling the camera.
Do we know how long the tape is and any indication?
He does know how long the tape is, but he's not gonna disclose that at this time.
Are there any like indicators maybe he set on the camera that indicates that he is R. Kelly? Like, you know, do you want a job in the music industry, or does he say anything that sort of like indicates that it's him?
We don't want to describe the detail on the tape, but they have both viewed it and it is their conclusion that this is R. Kelly. It appears to them that he is R. Kelly
Have you viewed the tape?
on the tape.
Have you viewed the tape?
I don't have any comment.
Ms. Allred, did Mr. Dennis,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned that it appeared R. Kelly was controlling the camera, but it also appeared that he was in the video. So
Meaning participating in the sexual abuse.
is his face visible in the video?
Their conclusion is that this is Mr. Kelly.
did the women know?
If his face had not been visible, they would not have been able to reach that conclusion.
Ms. Allred, did Mr. Dennis recognize any of the young girls that were in the video?
No,
And is there any indication where it was shot? The video?
I mean, there is no indication of the city and state where it was shot.
Was it a bedroom or did it
I'm sorry, but we're not able to discuss in which room this tape was made.
Did the women know they were being filmed?
I don't have any comment on that. And these were not women, these were girls. Underage girls. And I really couldn't comment on whether they knew they were being recorded, didn't know they were being recorded. In a way, it doesn't matter because the child cannot legally consent to being sexually abused and cannot legally consent to be sexually abused and recorded while she is being sexually abused.
How did Mr. Kelly come to know these girls?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
How did he come to know these girls?
We have no comment on how he came to know these girls. That would be for law enforcement to state if, as, and when they think it's appropriate to state that.
At this point, is there any indication that additional charges will be brought as a result of this from law enforcement?
That will be for the prosecutors to decide if, as, and when any additional charges would be filed against Mr. Kelly, and if so, where. This is the United States Attorney's Office. This is a federal criminal investigation. We know there is a pending criminal case in which Mr. Kelly has been charged in Chicago and Cook County by Cook County prosecutors. Whatever happens to that case, whether he is ultimately convicted or acquitted, the United States Attorney's Office could, either way, still file charges against him if, as, and when they believe it is appropriate to do so.
So there's an ongoing federal investigation in addition to the Cook County investigation.
It appears to me that there is an open investigation by the United States Attorney's Office in the Eastern District.
Why does it appear that way?
I can't comment on that. However, in my last news conference here in New York, I did state that my clients in that case, who alleged they were 16 and 15 years old, that's Latrice and Rochelle, they spoke to law enforcement, namely the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York.
Has your office, or to your knowledge, have the authorities made any contact regarding this with Kelly's attorneys?
You would have to ask Mr. Kelly's attorneys.
So your office has not reached out
Reached out to him.
to the attorneys regarding?
I see no need to reach out to Mr. Kelly's attorney regarding this VHS tape.
I know you said this all occurred within the last few weeks. When did you hand the tape over to authorities?
Recently.
Was anything else out of the ordinary found in Mr. Dennis's VHS collection?
To his knowledge at this time, he believes that this may be the only tape that he has had possession of in reference to Mr. Kelly. But we can't be 100% sure. Here's what we can be 100% sure of. If there is anything else in that box that depicts Mr. Kelly, law enforcement will be provided with it immediately. And they will have immediate access to everything in that box so they can ascertain what, if anything, is present in that box. We're happy to assist in any and every way that they deem appropriate. Yes.
You said you believe there's additional tapes out there. What would lead you to believe? Are there other tapes of this particular incident?
The basis for my belief is that there have been news reports over the years that there were tapes depicting Mr. Kelly in sexually abusive acts with children that were being sold on street corners in Chicago. Bootleg tapes. I don't know whether that's true. I'm just stating what I have seen in news reports that may or may not be true. But that's the basis for my belief that it is possible. Also, I have been contacted by others in reference to the possession of tapes. I'm not at liberty to disclose who contacted me, what they have, what's on the tapes. Anyone who contacts me has a right to a confidential conversation. I will not disclose what they told me. Whether they turn over such tapes if they exist or don't turn them over, I would never disclose that without their permission or anything about them. Yes.
Just considering this is such a bombshell claim, is there any indication, or we're going to talk about, did he say something in the video? Did he appear in the video? Can you give us any kind of, evidence that you are sure that it's R. Kelly in the video? Anything? I know you're.
I will just say, and I can't give the reason, I have a basis for believing that it appears that it is Mr. Kelly on the video. Can I say that to 100% certainty? No. Do I have a basis for believing it? Yes. That's all I can say.
Ms. Allred, in terms of you've represented many sex abuse survivors.
Yes.
What concerns do you have for these young girls that appear in this video that they may be outed against their will because of this?
Well, they're not going to be outed by us because no member of the public will see this tape, nor has any member of the public seen this tape that was in the possession of Gary and Sally. We are not providing this to any member of the press, nor to any other person. Because the only people who should see this tape are law enforcement. And that's about as clear as I can make it. And then it'll be for the prosecutors to decide if, as and when charges are filed, if it should be shown in a court of law or not. But I do not have any knowledge as to whether additional charges will be filed. If so, where, when? That is not for me to know. I don't ask that question. If it's not appropriate to know, that would be for prosecutors to decide.
And could Mr. Dennis, what's his occupation?
He works in a nursing home. He assists there. And they're very fortunate to have him because they're a very caring person. Yes.
Has there been any concerns with the Dennis's speaking as far as safety or anything else?
They're very courageous, and they decided that they wanted to speak out because protection of children is paramount to them. And they don't want these tapes to be in circulation, and they felt they needed to ask the public, please do not sell them, do not give them away, do not distribute them if you have them, do not tamper with them, do not discard them. Do the right thing in the right way, take the right steps so that law enforcement can have them. And that's why they're doing it. They thought about the risks to them and the fact that not everyone will agree to the fact that tape should be turned over to law enforcement, but I think they're clear that this was the right thing to do, and they're courageous and they were going to do it. And they did. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Why did Mr. Dennis feel the need to speak out about it? Why not just turn over the tapes quietly?
He felt the need to speak out about it because he wants the message to be sent to any other person or persons who may have access to or possession of similar tapes, that they need to do the right thing, ASAP, and turn it over to law enforcement. And we are concerned, all of us, that not all such tapes are in the possession of law enforcement and yet should be. There may be people out there profiting from these tapes, and if you're profiting from the possession of such tapes, then you are profiting from the sexual abuse of children. And that is wrong, and we want people to not encourage the exploitation and the abuse of children and child pornography. We want everyone to step up and say, I'm going to do the right thing to protect children. I'm going to turn over these tapes. However it came into your possession, doesn't matter. You just need to have access to the tapes so that law enforcement can have it. That's why he did this today. Yes.
Ms. Allred, were you given any kind of guarantee that no charges will be brought against the Dennis's in terms of possession of this?
I have no concern about that whatsoever. Because clearly they're doing the right thing in the right way, for the right reason, at the right time.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. They'll be doing no interviews. So.